10.4, installment buying. So here we're going to be talking about basically when you borrow money by either of the following methods that are going to be discussed here in this section. The previous section was about personal notes and discounted notes. So here it says that there may be circumstances under which it is more convenient for the borrower to repay the loan on a weekly or monthly basis, or to use some other convenient time period. One method of doing so is to borrow money on an installment plan. So it's more convenient, and that's what is very common here in the U.S., that when people borrow money from a bank or any lender, people usually pay back in monthly payments. So that's called an installment plan, okay, versus giving the entire amount back at the end of the by the end of the due date or the end of the period, which that was 10.2. Here we're gonna calculate monthly payments and learn how they're calculated and so forth. So there are two types of installment loans: fixed payment and open end. Basically, I'm just reading along from everything that I have highlighted. A fixed installment loan is one on which you pay a fixed amount of money for a set number of payments. Examples of items that can be purchased with fixed payment installment loans are college tuition loans, loan for cars, boats, appliances, and furniture. There may be other things, but these are some examples that the textbook mentions. These loans are generally repaid in 24, 36, 48, or 60 equal monthly payments. An open-end installment loan is a loan on which you make variable payments each month. So examples of an open-end installment loan can be credit cards, such as MasterCard, Visa, Discover, and some American Express cards. So basically, credit cards, any type of credit card, probably is going to be an example of an open-end installment loan. So you can read the rest over here below on your own, but I'm going to go to the next slide. So the next slide says here that something that is important that we're going to be using a lot is something that the law requires the lending institutions to tell the borrower, and those two things are the annual percentage rate and the finance charge. The annual percentage rate, abbreviated APR, is the true rate of interest charged for the loan. The APR provides consumers the ability to compare loans without having to do calculations to determine the true interest rate they are being charged. The finance charge is the total amount of money the borrower must pay for borrowing the money. The finance charge includes the interest plus any additional fees to obtain the loan. For the rest of the section, we will include the interest only when we refer to the finance charge. The installment price is the sum of all the monthly payments and the down payment, if any. So the next examples are going to deal with, it say here, fixed installment loans. We begin our discussion of installment loans by calculating the monthly payment for the same loan by using a table in example 1 and B, a formula in example 2. So we're going to see that we should get the same thing. So example 1 and example 2 are supposed to be the same problem, but just done differently. In example 1, we're going to use first a table that we're going to look at right now to answer the question. And in example 2, we're going to use a formula, and both are supposed to give us the same answer. So, okay, let me take away. Sorry, technical difficulties here. So, annual percentage rate table for monthly payment plan. So this table is going to help us do example 1 through the use of this table. And remember that the question is going to be that we want to calculate the monthly payment, and this is something that's going to help us. So you can see that on this table we have on this column on the left hand side number of payments, so how many months basically, and how many months you have to pay, and the annual percentage rate. On the row on the very top, those percentages you see are the interest rate that you're going to be charged. And what this table calculates is the annual percentage rate table for a monthly payment. So you need to know the number of payments, or the total number of months that you're going to have to repay the loan, and you need to know the interest rate that the bank or the lender is going to be charging. And these two things together are going to give you any number from the ones that are here on the table, and these are supposed to be dollars. These numbers that are within the table are dollars that you're going to be charged for every, as a finance charge, for every $100 of the amount that you are borrowing or that you're financing. Okay. So we will look at this a little bit more with the problem, with the actual problem. So here, move the stuff. It says Kristen wishes to purchase new window blinds for her house at a cost of $1,500. The home improvement store has an advertised finance option of no down payment and 6% APR for 24 months. Determine the finance charge on letter A. And B, determine Kristen's monthly payment. So basically, to make this faster and so that I don't do a super lengthy video, this problem is from the textbook, so I just copied the solution from there, and I'm just going to explain to you what they're doing. So for part A, determine the finance charge. Sorry about the home phone ringing. So table 10.2 gives the finance charge for every $100 of the amount financed. That's what the table that we were looking at right now was really calculating. The table shows the finance charge for every $100 for 24 months at 6%, and that's 6.37. So if you look for this on the table, if I go to the table 10.2, then I will go back right now, and I look for 24 months at 6%, we're going to find out that this is the amount of dollars that is going to be charged for every $100 of the total finance amount. So if I go back to the table, 24 months with 6%, you see that's already circled here, $6.37, it's going to be the finance charge for every $100 of the amount financed. Because Kristen is financing $1,500, that's the total. The number of hundreds of dollars financed, you're going to find them by dividing the total amount financed by 100, so there's $1,500 in $1,500. So to determine the total finance charge, all we're going to do is multiply the finance charge, the $6 with 37 cents that we figure out from the table in the previous slide, times 15, because that 15 represents $1,500 being in 1,500, and so the total finance charge, it's going to be $95 with 55 cents when you multiply these two. And that's it. That's the answer for part A. I was about to cover that because this is too thick. That would be the answer for letter A. For letter B, it says determine Kristen's monthly payment. So to determine the monthly payment, first we calculate the total installment price by adding the finance charge to the purchase price. So she is borrowing $1,500, but then obviously they're going to charge you the finance charge, what you are charged, the $6 with 37 cents for every $100, which times 15 that we did in letter A, it was $95.55. So that amount, you're going to add it to the original amount that she wanted to borrow, and that gives a total of $1,595.55. So that's the total installment plan, including the finance charge. Next, we divide the total price. Next, we divide the total price by the number of payments. So that was given on the information that the loan was for 24 months. So that total installment plan by 20 divided by 24 is 66.48, and that should be the monthly payment, the minimum monthly payment that she has to give. Okay, so now the same problem, we are going to solve it in the next slide right now, but we're going to use a formula instead of the table. So you can do either or. Probably the formula is easier to set up. Now the thing is to put it on the calculator correctly. You know the parentheses are always of very high importance. If you don't put the parentheses in the right place, then you're going to get the wrong answer. So this formula is for calculating installment payment, the monthly payment. Okay, this formula is called the installment payment formula, and it's for calculating monthly payment. So M is the installment payment, P is the amount financed, R is the annual percentage rate as a decimal number, N is the number of payments per year, and T is the time in years. So you can look at the formula here. Okay. So it says here that we are basically doing or solving the same problem again that we did. That's why it says we read example 1. Use the installment payment formula to determine Kristen's monthly payment. So here it says, in this example, Kristen is borrowing $1,500, so we already knew that. That's going to be our principal, because here P is the amount financed. So what is the amount financed? $1,500. The APR is 6%. Okay, that was given on the problem here, that the APR was 6%. Then it says, so you know, you're going to divide the 6% by 100, and that's how they change the rating to decimal, being 0.06. She's making monthly payments, so N equals 12. Because within a year, the letter N, if you see what it says here, N is the number of payments per year. So she's giving monthly payments, so how many months are there in a year? 12. So that's why N is 12. And time of the loan is 24 months. So the total time that she has to repay this is going to be 24 months. So that's going to be for the T. But be careful, because the T says T is the time in years, not in months. So you have to change this 24 months into years. So 24 months divided by 12, that represents each year, 1 year, right? That's a total of 2 years. And that's the number you're going to use for the T. So then you substitute the values into the formula, right? You can see this. And this formula has a negative on the exponent. So you put all the numbers here, then you start doing your calculations. You may do this step by step. You may put all of this once in the calculator. I'm just going to tell you, if you're going to go with the calculator, then for example, you are going to need parentheses here and parentheses here, additional to the parentheses that you already see here. You're going to need a parenthesis here and a parenthesis here, enclosing the entire. So you need basically parentheses always when you're putting a division. Here is a fraction, right, a ratio, a division of two things. You are going to need parentheses for the numerator. You're going to need parentheses for the denominator to separate them. But then you're also going to need, in this case, a parenthesis. Yeah, just make sure that you have, just seeing if you need more. I would put another additional that is not being shown here. Oops, sorry. This thing is not letting me put the parentheses, but I'm going to tell you. I would put a parenthesis here. I would also put a parenthesis right here. So I would leave the parentheses as you see them right now, as they were already in the formula originally. But then if you're going to use the calculator to put everything at once to go from this answer, you want to go to the final answer without doing everything step by step, you need to put the parentheses as I'm telling you. And then if you say, no, I want to do it step by step, well, okay, you can do it step by step, and just make sure that you get to this answer. And yeah, basically, and what you don't see here below, sorry, but it just says that Kristen's monthly payment would be 66.48. Okay, so that would be his monthly payment, which is the exact same thing that we got in example number 1. This is example number 2, using the same problem, the same exercise, but instead of using the table, with the formula. And this formula is for calculating monthly payments for an installment loan. Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna be around the same, working around the same topic, but something a little different. Okay, different question. At least letter B. So it says here, Linus is purchasing a new car that sells for $19,481, including taxes and fees. And so it says he receives $8,000 as a trade-in on his old car and uses the money as a down payment. Linus finances the balance. So after you subtract the $19,481 minus what he got on his trading in his car, which is $8,000, that subtraction gives you $11,481. So that's what he financed. Linus financed the balance of $11,481 through the car dealership, and it's told that his monthly payment will be $344.11 for 36 months. So here we already know, we know what is the amount financed, which is the $11,481. We know the $344.11 is the monthly payment already. So here's not going to be the question about find the monthly payment like in the previous one. And we know that the total time to repay the loan is 36 months. So letter A is asking for determining the finance charge. Okay, so that we already learned in the previous problem that it says here, to determine the finance charge, we first determine the total installment price. So that's going to be the first thing you're going to do. Always to find the finance charge, you need to find the total installment price. The total installment price is the down payment plus the total installment payment. So $8,000 was what he gave as the down payment, and the total monthly installments, it's going to be multiplying, you already know the monthly payment, times the 36 months, so that gives a total of $12,387 with 96 cents. So when you add the down payment and the total monthly installment payments, this is the one you get, $20,387 with 96 cents. The finance charge is the total installment price minus the selling price. So you want to know like how much extra out of the selling price is what all this finance charge and fees and all this interest is going to be. So you take the total installment price minus the selling price, which was $19,481, right? Not the finance amount, but the selling price is what you're going to subtract from the total installment price, and that gives you $906 with 96 dollars with 96 cents. So that's what Linus will pay as finance charge. So extra, additional to the original price, right? Including the taxes and the fees and all. So that's for letter A. For letter B, we have to find the APR. So to determine the annual percentage rate, we're going to use table 10.2 on, it says on page 593 on the textbook, but it's basically the table that I already showed you right now. First, divide the finance charge by the amount financed and multiply the quotient by 100. So basically, if you want to find or determine the APR, you get the finance charge, which would be this amount right here, and then you divide it by the amount financed. The amount financed is this amount right here. So those two, in that order, finance charge on the numerator, on the denominator, the amount financed, you divide that, and whatever you get, you multiply it times 100. So here, my calculator, 906.96 divided by 11,481. That's the first number you see here. Multiply that times 100 to change it into to just have that not in decimal. And so it says here on the explanation that Linus pays about $7 with $7.90 for each 100 being financed. So if I go to the table 10.2, if you look for 790, it's right here. This one. So you see how the problem was saying that he had to repay the loan 36 months. Well, now, because 36 months and you found the amount of dollars that is going to be the finance that is going to be charged for every 100, and you make the connection of 36 months with this number of dollars, this amount of dollars, then you get to the conclusion that the APR is going to be 5%, because that's the column where this row joins the 790 with the 36. So 5% is going to be the APR. So I go back here to this problem, and that's what basically they're going to be saying here on the explanation. Linus pays $7 with 90 cents for each 100 being financed. So in table point 2, that's what I told you, look for 36 in the far left hand column under the heading number of payments. Next, move across the table to the right until you find the value that is closest to $7.90. Sometimes you don't find the number exactly in the table, so you're going to find whichever is closest to that amount of dollars that you got in letter B. But in this case, we actually found that number exactly on the table. So at the top of this column is the value 5%. Therefore, the annual percentage rate, or the APR, is approximately 5%. Okay, so here the answer is this, because when they ask you for the APR, they're not asking you for the amount of dollars. This is money, okay? They're not asking you for the amount of dollars that is going to be the finance charge per month for every monthly payment. They're asking you what is the interest rate based on you knowing the finance charge per month, and you use this formula, and you can see if you know the number of months, the total number of months you have to repay the loan, and you know the number of dollars that is going to represent the finance charge for every monthly payment, then you can figure out what is the APR also. So you can use this chart in different ways depending what the question is. So sometimes they ask you what is the monthly finance charge, and sometimes they're going to ask you what is the APR, using the same thing, using the table. Okay, so here this one is just an extra example of the same thing, but I just want to do it so that you can see another example. So the finance charge here, it says they give you like a little table, everything self-explanatory. The cash price is $3,200, the down payment is $250, the amount financed is $2,950. So if you subtract, I'm going to show you here my calculator, 3,200 minus 2,950, that's the down payment, right? So this is what the cash price was, but then the person gave a down payment of $250, so this is the only amount that is going to be financed. The total number of payments that this person has to repay, the cash price or the loan, is 18 months. The amount per payment, for each payment, the monthly payment is $175. We don't know what the finance charge is. We don't know what the APR is going to be, the annual percentage rate. So finance charge for every $100 of amount finance. I just copied and pasted here a portion of that table 10.2. Instead of us going back to the table, we can just look at it here. So the first thing that we are going to find out is the finance charge is. So you're looking for an amount of dollars. What's the finance charge? So in order for you to do this, you need to find out the monthly payment. So $175 per month times the total number of months you're going to be paying this amount. That's going to give you $3,150. Okay. So if you take this amount, $3,150, and you subtract from this one the not the down payment, the amount financed, you're gonna get 200 is the finance charge. So you need to know, in order for you to find the finance charge, you need to know what is the monthly payment, multiply that times the total number of payments, and that should give you that. So if you see here, just 175 times 18, it's 3,150. But then from that, you subtract the actual amount that is financed, and that's 200. And that should be your finance charge. Okay, so use the APR table to find the APR. Okay, so then for answering this, it's basically the same thing as part B on this previous problem where they were asking for the APR. You need to set up this formula. The finance charge over the amount financed times 100, and then use the table, right? So the finance charge, which is the 200, over the amount financed. The amount financed is $2,950. So out of this, whatever you get out of this division, which is going to be 200 divided by this, I'm going to copy all the decimals you see there. 0.06779661017. So then I still need to do this times 100. So the decimal point is going to move twice to the right side. So we're going to end up with 6.7796661017. And since this is supposed to be dollars, right? I'm going to round this to cents. Actually, you know what? I'm going to round to just one decimal place, because if you think, yeah, I can round to 2 decimals, or I'm just going to round to 1. You can round to 2 because I was thinking of the table, but the table actually has 2 digits. So you can round to 1 decimal, you can round to 2 decimals. Let me look at this one. Yeah, all of these ones have 2 because it says, okay, so let's round to 2 decimals then. Where was I? Here. So $6.78 if you round to 2 cents up to here. Okay, so now I'm going to look for, in my table, 18 months with 6.78. Now, you may see that in the row of 18 months, there's no 6.78. But you can see that the closest number of dollars to this one is actually going to be this one right here, right? So the connection of this to this tells us that this is going to be the APR, 8.5%. Okay. So APR is equals to 8.5%. So all you're going to do is find which is the closest amount of dollars to that, if it is that you don't find the exact number of dollars in the table. Okay. So, okay, here is example 4. Example 4 says, financing a restored car. Tino borrowed $9,800 to purchase a classic 1966 Ford Mustang. He does not recall the APR of the loan, but remembers that there are 48 payments of $237 each. If he did not make a down payment on the car, determine the APR. Okay, so I'm just reading out the solution. It says, first determine the finance charge by subtracting the cash price from the total amount paid. So for finance charge is equals to multiplying the $237 times 48 payments, and that's going to give you a total of $11,376. Subtract from that the amount borrowed, which is $9,800, and you get $1,576. That is the finance charge. Now divide the finance charge by the amount of the loan. and multiply this by 100, which is what we did in the previous problem. So 16.08. So now you're going to go to the 10.2 table. You're going to look for the combination of 48 payments with, remember this is dollars, $16.08, and it says here that we're going to find that the APR is 7.5. So let's see, let's go to the table. What was the number? 16.08. So 48 months with 16.08. Well, yeah, the closest one is going to be this. So then, that's why 7.5%. Yep. So you're going to find the most approximated value to the amount of dollars financed per month when you don't find the exact number on the table. If you find it, perfect, but if you don't, that's what you're going to do. Okay, so here, we're going to use this formula that we are seeing here, and we are going to reflect on example 4 in order for it to continue with example 5. So it's a kind of a continuation from example 4. So in example 4, if Tino made all 48 payments, his finance charge would be $1,576. If he decides to repay the loan after making 30 payments, just reading the paragraph, must he pay the total finance charge? The answer is no. By paying off his loan early, Tino is not obligated to pay the entire finance charge. So whenever we, like in this case, borrowing money that we are given a certain number of months to pay, but then you want to pay earlier, then you save yourself paying a lot of interest or fees or finance charge that you don't have to pay anymore. Tino is not obligated to pay the entire finance charge. The amount of the reduction of the finance charge from paying off a loan early is called the unearned interest. We will learn about the most common way of calculating unearned interest, which is called the actuarial method. So the formula for the actuarial method for calculating unearned interest when you pay off your loan earlier than the plan, the original plan, is this formula. So the U stands for unearned interest. That's what the formula calculates. N is the number of remaining monthly payments, excluding the current payments. It's not the total of payments that you were given when you got the loan for the first time. N is representing the number of remaining monthly payments, excluding the current payment. P is the monthly payment, the amount for the monthly payment, and V is the value from the APR table that corresponds to the annual percentage rate for the number of remaining payments, excluding the current payment. So for V, you need to use the table to figure out what number is going to go there for the V. So you can see the formula here. So let's apply that here on this problem. Okay. Okay, so here we have, it says in example 4, the one that we just did, we determined the APR of Tino's loan to be 7.5%. Instead of making his 30th payment of his 48 payment loan, Tino wishes to pay his remaining balance and terminate the loan. So instead of him waiting until the 48th payment, when he's gonna do his 30th payment, he wishes to just terminate the loan, like finish already. So he's gonna pay earlier. So letter A says, use the actuarial method to determine how much interest Tino will save, the unearned interest U, by repaying the loan early. B, what is the total amount due to pay off the loan early on the day he makes his final payment? Okay, so A, we're going to find how much is he going to save, the unearned interest. So you just have to follow the formula. N in the formula was supposed to be the number of remaining monthly payments. So if you want to find out the number of remaining monthly payments, all you're going to do is subtract the total number of payments minus the 30 payments that he had, that supposedly he's gonna up to where he's going to, or he wants to pay the full amount. So that leaves him with 18 monthly payments that he's not going to have to do anymore, because all of that he's going to pay it by the 30th payment. So that's why here n is equals to 18. That's the number you see for the n in the formula. Then the P is supposed to be the monthly payment, 237. The V is the APR, but you're going to use a table to figure that out. So you need to know the number of payments, but not the total number of payments in this case. Remember that V represents the APR, but using the number of payments that are remaining. So you're going to use 18 payments on the table. That's what you're going to look for, not 48, not 30, but the 18. Together with the 7.5 interest that you were given, that we found out from the previous part of this problem. So if we go and look at what the V is here, supposedly 6.04. If I go to the table, let's see, let's confirm that. Let's look for 18 payments. It's a little slow. I missed it. 18 payments. Let me get my pen. So here is 18 payments with 7.5. Oh yeah, that's what it is. $6.04. It's what it's going to be, the V, which is the amount of dollars for the annual percentage rate based on the remaining number of payments and the interest rate that we found out from the previous part of this problem. Problem 3. Wait. That was there. So 6.04, that's where this one came, how this one came in here. So 100 plus also the same V value. So you do all this and you're supposed to get 242 with 99 cents. By paying off the loan early, Tino will save $242 with 99 cents in interest by the actuarial method. Okay, and that's the answer for A. For B, what is the total amount due to pay off? Total amount due to pay off the loan early on the day he makes his final payment. So if he's going to pay early by the 30th payment, then what is going to be the balance at that moment that he has to pay? So here we have, because the remaining payments total 18 payments times 237 for each month gives the total of 4,266. That's Tino's remaining balance. Tino's remaining balance, excluding his 30th monthly payment, is. So the total amount of money that you calculate by 18 remaining payments times $237 minus the interest saved, the unearned interest that we found in letter A, which was 242 with 99 cents. Right? That was here. Because that's what he's saving if he's going to pay earlier. And so the balance due is going to be $4,023 with 1 cent, excluding the 30th monthly payment. Because remember that this formula is always going to be calculating excluding the payment that you're supposed to do by the time that you're giving the payment number where you want to pay early. So it's not including this is just what he would be, the total amount of money that he would be having as the balance without the interest, as of the remaining until the 48 payments, right? From the 30th and on, but not including actually the payment for the 30th. So now you have to add to this the $237 for the 30th month, and in reality, this is the total balance. If he wants to, if by the 30th payment, Tino says that he wants to pay the entire loan, then he needs to not only calculate the 18 payments after, so counting from the 31st payment and on until the 48, but also he needs to add the payment for that, because they're not going to forgive him that 30th payment. He has to give it for the 30th month. So you add these two amounts, and that's the total amount due if he wants to pay everything by the 30th payment, including the rest of the 18 payments plus that 30th payment. Okay. open and installment loans. Okay, so we already did the fixed installment loans, right? So those, it's always going to be the same monthly payments. That's not going to change in a certain number of months that they're going to give you when you borrow the money. And sometimes if you pay earlier, you will, not sometimes, but if you decide that you want to pay earlier, you see how you save yourself a lot of interest money that is just wasted money, basically, sometimes. So open and installment loans, which basically we said that this is more for credit cards, okay? So credit card terms, here we have a little table. Purchases, daily periodic table, so this is the daily rate they charge you of interest for purchases. And for cash advances, this is the daily periodic rate. Annually, they charge interest daily and annually. So this is the interest for purchases annually, and this is the interest for cash advances annually. So it says here a few details that are interesting. It says for purchases using credit cards, all of this is assuming credit cards. You're using a credit card. For purchases, there is no finance or interest charge if there is no previous balance due, and you pay the entire new balance by the payment due date. So if your credit card is blank, like you haven't used it, or maybe you already bought something and you paid it right away, so it's blank, there's no balance due in there. It says that there's going to be no finance or interest charge if the previous balance due was nothing, right? And you pay the entire new balance by the payment due date. Then you're not being really charged finance or interest charge. The period between when a purchase is made and when the credit card company begins charging interest is called the grace period, and it's usually 20 to 25 days. However, if you use a credit card to borrow money, called a cash advance, there generally is no grace period, and a finance charge is applied from the date you borrow the money until the day you repay the money. So when you purchase things, there is a grace period, 20 to 25 days, where you're not really charged finance or interest charge if you had no previous balance. After the 20th or 25th day, then they're going to start charging you interest on that amount that you used to purchase something with your credit card. But then there's another option that you can do with credit cards. You can get money out of that. You can get a cash advance. Not necessarily that you're going to go to the store and use the credit card to purchase something, but you're going to get the money as cash for yourself from the credit card. That's not a very good idea, because then it says that after you get the cash advance, generally there's no grace period, and a finance charge is applied from the date that you get the money out from that credit card. So they're not going to wait until, like, if you paid within the next billing, within the next due date of the next billing cycle, they're still going to be charging you finance charge already, and interest probably, since the moment that you took the money out, if it is a cash advance. When you make purchases or obtain cash advances, the minimum monthly payment will generally be any new fees and interest plus at least 1% of the outstanding balance. This sum is then rounded up to the nearest whole dollar. Credit card companies often have $20 as the lowest possible minimum monthly payment. So this right here is something we're going to deal with right now in some of the comments. When you make purchases or obtain cash advances, the minimum monthly payment will generally be any new fees and interest plus at least 1% of the outstanding principal. Okay, so let's see how this is going to work. So here we have our first example dealing with a credit card. Calculating minimum monthly payments. Okay, so we're going to learn how to calculate minimum monthly payments for credit cards. Ms. Orange's credit card company determines her minimum monthly payment by adding any new interest owed to 1.2% of the outstanding principal. The credit card company charges an interest rate of 0.05173% per day. On May 17, Ms. Orange used her credit card to purchase a new dining room table and chairs for $3,900. She made no other purchases in May. Assuming Ms. Orange owed no interest, determine her minimum payment due on June 1st, her billing date. So we're going to assume that prior to the room, table, and chairs, the dining room table and chairs, she had not made any other purchases. Just the $3,900 was the first time, right? I don't know if the first time, but at least there was no balance due. She had already paid, if she used it before, everything she owed, or maybe this was the first time she was barely using it. So she did this purchase on May 17. So letter A is asking us to determine the minimum payment due on June 1st. So a month, I guess, which is going to be the next due date, because it says her billing date. Yes, okay. So for letter A, it says, since there is no interest due, Ms. Orange's minimum monthly payment due on June 1st is determined by taking 1.2%, of the outstanding principal. So you know that this number, 1.2%, if you want to calculate 1.2% of any amount or any percent of an amount, you're going to divide that number by 100. That number divided by 100 is right here. What was your outstanding principal? What she purchased? $3,900. So $46.80 is going to be the minimum payment due, the exact minimum payment due. But I mean, usually it says that the bank is going to be rounding up to the nearest whole dollar. So we determined that her minimum monthly payment is going to be $47, because we usually are going to be rounding up to the nearest whole dollar. Letter B says, on June 1st, instead of making the minimum payment, Ms. Orange makes a payment of $850, so she gives more than the $47, way more. Assume there are no additional charges or cash advances. Determine her minimum payment due on July 1st. So assume that she didn't use the credit card anymore, right? And that instead of giving the minimum, she gives that more. So now they're asking us to determine her minimum payment due on July 1st, on the next billing date, right? So Ms. Orange's minimum payment due on July 1st will be the sum of the new interest charges plus 1.2% of her outstanding balance. To calculate her new interest charges, we will use the simple interest formula. New interest charges are going to be calculated with this formula. Okay. It says we will use the simple interest formula. The interest equals the principal times the rate times the time. The principal is what she paid, right? What she purchased with the credit card, $3,900. You're going to subtract from the principal the payment that she's giving on July 1st, $850. So her balance would be without any interest, right? $3,050. The rate, it was given on the reading problem, it's this decimal right here. Well, but as a percent already, right? It's a percent actually. It's a decimal, but it's a percent. So you have to divide this number by 100. When you divide this number by 100, that's how you get that number. And I did this too thick that you're not going to see the decimal anymore. Let me write it in here. So this amount, because it's a percent, even though it's a decimal, you still have to divide it by 100. When you divide this by 100, then you get this number right here. So, and that's the interest per day. And the time is 30 days, right? Because you're going to count how many days are from June 1st to July 1st. So June had 30 days. So then you're going to say the principal is the remaining balance after she paid the $850 times the rate times the 30 days. 47.33. This number is the interest charges. Okay, that's it. To determine 1.2% of the outstanding principal, multiply 0.012 by the outstanding principal being $3,050 to get $36.60. Next, we add the new interest, this to the 1.2% of the outstanding principal. So So you're going to add it to this one. That's what you see here. And that gives you a total of $83.93. Okay. Rounding up to the nearest whole dollar, we determine that Mrs. Orange's minimum monthly payment due on July 1st is going to be $84, rounding up to the nearest whole dollar. In example 6, Mrs. Orange made no additional charges. So we're going to probably continue for the next one with this problem. In example 6, Mrs. Orange made no additional charges during the month. When additional charges are made during the month, the finance charges on open-end installment loans or credit cards are generally calculated in one of two ways: the previous balance method or the average daily balance method. In example 7, we illustrate the previous balance method. Example 8 illustrates the average daily balance method. With the previous balance method, the borrower is charged interest or a finance charge on the previous balance from the previous charge period. Okay. So just have the idea of what previous balance method means, which basically the name is telling us. The borrower will be charged interest or a finance charge on the previous balance from the previous charge method. So here we have this example. It says in October, Peter charged all the supplies for his Halloween party to his Visa card. On November 5th, the billing date, Peter had a balance of this much. Okay. So in October, Peter charged all supplies for his Halloween party. By November 5th, his billing date, he had this balance due from the things that he purchased, right, in October, I guess. From November 5th through December 4th, he did some shopping and charged items. So this is the difference between the previous problem. This person, within the billing cycle, she started doing more charges. So he already had a balance from the previous cycle, from the previous month. But then before the next billing date, he started using the credit card again, and he started charging other stuff. So that's why he says from November 5th through December 4th, he did some shopping and charged items totaling $320. This is additional to the $275. And he also made a payment of $145. So he already had a balance of $275. Then, before his next billing date, from November 5th to December 4th, so his next billing date was going to be, I guess, December 5th, right? He did some shopping and he charged $320, but then he also paid $145 to the credit card. So letter A says, determine the finance charge due on December 5th, Peter's next billing date, using the previous balance method. Assume that the interest rate charged is 1.3% per month. The finance charge is based, so I'm reading the solution for letter A. The finance charge is based on $275 balance due on November 5th. To find the finance charge due on December 5th, use the simple interest formula with a time of 1 month. Yes, because from the moment that the balance was $275 to the next billing cycle, which is that was by November 5th. The next billing cycle was going to stop or was going to be due on December 5th. So from November to December, that's basically 1 month, right? So then it's saying here to use just a 1. So the principal is going to be the previous balance times the rate, and that's given to us in here. So you just divide that by 100, that's the rate, times the 1 month, and this 1 month represents the month from November to December, from November 5th to December 5th. So this is the finance charge for that month. The finance charge due on December 5th is this, not the total amount due. This is just the finance charge that they're going to add to the monthly payment. Then on B it says determine the new account balance on this December 5th. Determine the new account balance on December 5th. So solution for letter B reads, the balance due on December 5th is found by adding the cost of the new purchases and the calculated interest to the balance due on November 5th, and then subtracting the payment made from this sum. So this is the balance that was due on December 5th, right? this right here. This is what he charged from December 5th through November 4th. This is the interest that he's going to be charged for that month. And you add these three amounts, and then you subtract the payment that he gave, and this is what his account balance is supposed to be on December 5th, including all the charges he made with the credit card, and including the interest that the bank is going to charge him for the use of the credit card, but also taking into consideration the payment that he gave. And that's his new balance. So the balance due on December 5th is $453.58. The finance charge on January 5th is based on the December 5th balance of $453.58. Many lending institutions use the average daily balance, so this is the other way of calculating the finance charge. Average daily balance method of calculating the finance charge, because they believe that it is fairer to the customer. With the average daily balance method, a balance is determined each day of the billing period for which there is a transaction in the account. The average daily balance method is illustrated in example 8. So with this one, a balance is determined each day, it says, of the billing period for which there is a transaction. Every time you use the credit card, basically, they're going to do the new recalculation of the most recent balance, right? So here we have this example. It says finance charges using average daily balance method. The balance on Means credit card account on July 1st, the billing date was $375.80. The following transactions occurred during the month of July. So on July 5th, Means gave a payment of $150. On July 10th, Means used the credit card and used $74.35 for a toy that she charged on a toy store. On July 18th, Means did another charge, something related to the garage, of $123.50. And on July 28th, she used it, Means used it on a restaurant, and she charged $42.50. Determine the average daily balance for the billing period. Okay, so we need to put all this information and find the balance, the new balance, every time she was using the credit card. So to determine the average daily balance, we do the following. Number one, find the balance due. So you're gonna do like more than one step to find out the average daily balance, because you're gonna need to calculate the balance for every day as she was using the credit card. Find the balance due for each transaction date. So on July 1st, this was the balance that she had due. On July 5th, it was this amount minus what was the activity that by then that she gave a payment of $150. So this minus the $150, this is the balance as of July 5th. But then on July 10th, you remember, she used her credit card in a toy store, and she paid $74.35. So to this amount, right, she's gonna add what she charged that day, and this is the new balance. Okay, and then this old balance, this previous balance, plus what she charged in July 18, which was for the garage, $123.50, gives this new balance. And then this balance again, plus the restaurant charge, $42.50 on July 28th. So this is the last balance she has as of that last day, okay? Including everything that she has done before. Number two, find the number of days that the balance did not change between each transaction. Count the first day in the period, but not the last day. Note that the time period from July 28th through August 1st, the beginning of the next billing cycle, is 4 days. July 28th through August 1st, the beginning of the next billing cycle is 4 days. Okay, so first I'm going to do that here in the table. So you see, for example, July 1st, this was the balance. So they're just copying like this number. It's basically this one on July 1st. July 5th, it was this. July 10th, it was this. July 18th, it was this. July 28th, it was this. Okay, those are the balance. The balance that were due that we did in the previous table, just adding the previous balance to the current balance, as she was using every day the credit card. And then here is the number of days the balance did not change. So from July 1st to July 5th, so you just count how many days are there. So 5 minus 1 is 4 days, right? From July 5th to July 10th, 10 minus 5 is 5 days. So it says you're supposed to count the first day in the period, but not the last day in the period. On July 10, yeah, okay, so 5 minus 1 is 4, 10 minus 5 is 5, 18 minus 10 is the 8 days, 28 minus 18 is the 10 days, and you may say, and this 4 is what? Well, that 4 is what I highlighted there in red. From July 28, through August 1st, which is the beginning of the next billing cycle, there are 4 days. So we assume that she didn't charge anything anymore between that July 28th and the next 4 days for the next billing cycle. So we assume that 4 days passed from this last balance without this changing, right? So you're counting the number of days from one balance to the next one. Okay, so then you're going to multiply. Step 3 says here, multiply the balance due by the number of days the balance did not change. So that's what you see, the balance due for the number times the number of days that the balance did not change. This is the total amount for each time. Okay. Find the sum of all this product, all these multiplications, and this is the sum. Okay? And that's not the answer yet. Now, what are we looking for? We're looking to find out the average daily balance for the billing period, the average. So, last step to find the average daily balance. Divide this sum by the number of days in the billing cycle in the month. The number of days may be found by adding the days in column 2. So in column 2, add all these days by 31. That's the number of days in this billing cycle. So this total amount of money divided by 31st. And so this is the average daily balance. This one right here. Having a hard time writing. Okay, there. Okay, so that's all you have. It's not difficult, complicated, but I mean it's just time consuming to figure out the average daily balance. B, what was the question on B? Determine the finance charge to be paid on August 1st. Means next billing date. Assume that the interest rate is 1.3% per month. The finance charge. The finance charge for the month is found using the simple interest formula with the average daily balance as the principal. So the average daily balance is this one times, it was a 1.3%, so 0.013 times 1 month. So the finance charge for that month is going to be 4.67. So that's what's the question there. Finance charge for that month. C, determine the balance due on August 1st. Since the finance charge for the month was this, $4.67, the balance owed on August 1st is $466.50, which those $466.15 it's actually the last balance, right? The last balance plus the interest, and that gives you a total of $470.82. Okay, and that's the total balance owed by August 1st. Okay, last problem. Credit card, so that you can see the difference between when you're using your credit card for purchasing stuff and how they're gonna calculate your minimum monthly payment or your balance as of every billing cycle versus when you use a credit card for cash advances. So for when you want to take money out of your credit card, and remember that the difference is that you have a grace period where they're not charging you interest if you pay within that before the due date or within the due date when you use the credit card for purchasing things at the stores or at restaurants. But when you take money out, there's no grace period. They're going to start calculating the interest right away. So Davidson wishes to purchase an antique Franklin stove for $1,200. Since the antique dealer accepts cash only, Davidson uses his credit card to obtain a cash advance of $1,200. He borrowed the money on August 8th and repaid it on August 27th. If Davidson is charged an interest rate of that long percentage decimal you see there per day, how much did Davidson have to repay the credit card company on August 27th? Solution says, the amount Davidson pays is the original principal, $1,200, plus any accrued interest. Interest on cash advances is generally calculated for the exact number of days of the loan, starting with the day the money is obtained. The time of this loan is 19 days. So I guess they're counting, yes, from August 8th to August 27th. So if you do 27 minus 8, that's 19 days. And that's how they determine this part. So the time of this loan is 19 days. Using the simple interest formula, we get the following. The principal is the amount that he took as a cash advance, times the rate, obviously the rate, divided by 100. So just remember that if this number has a percent symbol, even though it looks like it's a decimal, you have to divide it by 100. So when you divide this by 100, that's this number here, times the time being 19 days. So the so here the interest on cash advances is going to be this, interest on cash advances. Therefore, on August 27, Davidson must repay the credit card company the amount that he took out as cash advance plus the interest charged on cash advances, and this is the total amount that he's going to have to repay the credit card for borrowing that amount, I guess, for the interest and the fees for the use, right, of that money. And that's it.